You started Folk Studio when you were just 24.
Ignorance is bliss, right? When you're 24, I started a company and I thought, yeah, this will be fine. I grew up in a home that was so rundown, which actually in hindsight was why I probably became a designer, because I was always doing it up. I'd just launched it. I'd left my 9-to-5 job and I knew to sustain it, I couldn't have too much pressure on it. I knew no matter what, it was going to be successful because I wasn't going to let it not be.
And look where you are now.
We said no to more projects last year than we said yes to. When people ask us about what our design style looks like, for me, it's really hard to answer because it varies. And that is, I think, the beauty of Folk.
Welcome to Behind the Design, a podcast where we unfold the details behind the designs we know and love and explore how each project comes to life. I am Camilla Ingall, owner of Unfolded, an interior design and styling studio. In this podcast series, we dive into the details with our industry experts, covering topics such as the creative process, latest design trends, and how we, as an industry, work together to meet the brief and overcome challenges. Let the conversation begin.
Welcome back to Behind the Design, the podcast where we explore the people and processes behind the spaces we see finished, styled and photographed, but rarely fully understood. I'm your host, Camilla Ingall, interior designer and founder of Unfolded. Today I'm joined by Mariah Burton, co-founder and director of Folk Studio, a Sydney-based interior design studio known for its playful use of colour, layered interiors and homes that feel deeply personal to the people who live in them. What stands out about Folk Studio is the clarity of identity. From early on, Mariah has built a studio that feels expressive, yet incredibly considered, projects that feel collaborative, personal, and creatively aligned. Mariah, welcome to Behind the Design.
Thank you for having me.
You started Folk Studio when you were just 24.
Yeah, wild.
Wild. Take me through that journey and also take me through, where did you grow up and what were your roots?
Yeah. So I think ignorance is bliss, right? When you're 24, I started a company and I thought, yeah, this will be fine. By the time I'm 30, it will be thriving. I had no really idea at what that meant, but I guess in hindsight, that was 6 years. And for a lot of people that start a business, they probably want it to be successful, whatever that looks like, before 6 years.
Absolutely.
So I guess, yes, ignorance is bliss, but I was obviously patient and I knew it was going to take a while to kind of get there. I grew up on the Northern Beaches, so it's quite a different lifestyle and environment to, I guess, what I'm kind of working in now. I work with a lot of homes in the inner west.
Like your aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah, the aesthetic on the Northern Beaches is a lot more coastal and laid back, right? But I guess growing up there, I was surrounded by beautiful homes as well. Not my home. I grew up in a home that was actually the home my mum grew up in Narrabeen on the Northern Beaches.
Wow.
And it was so rundown, which actually in hindsight was why I probably became a designer, because I was always doing it up. From painting, my own room, moving my room around, trying to update the kitchen. I painted it blue when I was about 7.
Wow. That was your first colour moment.
That was my first colour moment. So yeah, that was kind of how I grew up, which I think inspired probably a lot of creativity. And I think I knew the impact of what a good interior has on your mental and physical well-being from a really young age. So I guess growing up in that home kind of led me to become a designer. My mum's Australian, my dad's American. So I was actually born in America, but I came to Australia when I was 2. So sometimes I forget I was born in America.
Yeah. That's only 2 years.
Only 2 years of my life. But, a significant part of who I am and probably a driving force in being and diversifying, I guess, an industry that isn't typically very diverse. And one of the things that I'm quite passionate about still, making sure that there's diverse voices in a creative industry.
Absolutely. Before launching Folk, you worked across different parts of the design world. How did those early experiences shape the way that you run the studio today?
They heavily influenced how I run Folk, particularly I think culture and our purpose and why behind Folk. I worked for some really great bosses and some really great companies before Folk that kind of showed me what valuing staff looks like, having kind of a strong brand ethos as well. And they're all the things I wanted to carry into Folk. I also worked for a few companies that kind of developed into more money-hungry companies, that the design and good design kind of came secondary and company culture came secondary. So they were also something that I was really passionate about making sure I implemented in Folk, a company that felt inclusive, felt fun and energetic, and that design and client always came first, and that experience always came first.
It is interesting, hearing you say that, because there is such a balance between being a profitable design firm or studio and being fun and being approachable and being creative and doing it all.
Yeah.
And so, I love hearing that, you've worked for other brands and other businesses along the way, and when that can shape, you take what resonates, right, from these types of experiences, and you say, okay, that resonates, and then that flows into your own brand. Yeah, it's a beautiful way to do it.
It's these mental notes that I took along the way that was like, one day when I have my own design company, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that better, or I'm going to do that just as well, hopefully.
Yeah, that's the approach I want to take.
Yeah.
I love that. As you started the studio, you did quite a few big projects to start. What was that like, taking on such large projects, like such significant projects so early on?
Really scary.
The reality.
The reality of it was scary. I mean, it's funny because at the time, I don't think I understood the magnitude of the projects, or
which we often don't until we get started.
Exactly. I think I was just going into them being like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm good at what I do.
Yeah, I can take this on.
Yeah. I think it came down to being good with people has always kind of been what I've lent on. So our first big project was Curl House, and I was working 3 jobs when I started Folk, and one of them was at a little plant store. And this particular client came in and she was telling me about all of her kind of dreams about renovating a home on the Northern Beaches. And I was like, well, I can help you. And she was like, I was hoping you'd ask, like, I would love you to help me.
So you had 3 jobs at this point. And was this going to be your side hustle to your 3 jobs?
Yeah, it was. I mean, Folk was always the number one. I'd just launched it. I'd left my 9-to-5 job and I knew to sustain it, I couldn't have too much pressure on it. So I picked up all of these casual jobs that were really fun, but I didn't have to take them home with me. So that, during the day I was always planning the next moves with Folk, and at night I was kind of planning all of the social media moves and what we would kind of build from there. So there was never financial strain on Folk, which is kind of why it was able to evolve slowly. And then we started that project, and the income that we got in those early days was me going to open houses with this client. So she would pay me to come and look at different potential properties that we could renovate. And she just really trusted my vision. And we aligned so clearly on the aesthetic. And for a long time, for about a year, I was going to these open houses with her and nothing felt quite right. And I said to her one day, I think we need to actually build something from scratch. Like, nothing is going to get to the point that we want it to get to with just a cosmetic renovation. And she agreed. So then we pivoted and we started to look at land. And again,
such a big pivot.
Yeah, I'm about 25 at this point. So it was wild to me.
Very brave of you. Well, it is. Like a 25-year-old, if we look back now.
Yeah.
To say to a client, we're not going to do this. This is what I would suggest, because it's not working.
Yeah.
It is brave.
Yeah.
Having that language as well, and hoping that they're going to trust you, as you say.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I don't really know where that came from. I guess ignorance is bliss. But I knew that we aligned clearly, and I knew that she trusted me, and we found the perfect land to build on. And then really from there, it was about building the project team. This is kind of right around the time, I think about a year into the project, then COVID hit. So it was all a very strange time.
A lot of movement.
Yeah. But it really became like my soul project, and I was so passionate about it. And we got a really great architecture team on board and we really aligned beautifully. And so the build kind of took nearly 2 years. And then at about 26, I'm doing a local project video tour of the home. And, I guess, again, in hindsight, I didn't really understand the magnitude of what that looked like probably one of the youngest people to be doing that. But again, I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm doing.
100%.
And I just kind of kept going from there.
Yeah. And it's what I love is if we circle back to what you've just mentioned around not having the pressure for folk to be anything that, I guess not having pressure for it to, or expectation of what it should have been in those early days, it let you probably have capacity. I think when we release that pressure, it gives us that capacity because the expectation's not on us.
Yeah.
That we can go, all right, I'm going to make decisions from a space of clarity.
Yeah. It's putting the ego aside, right?
Absolutely. Rather than this brand should look a certain way, I need to show up in a certain way. Yeah. I'm going to be really honest with this client. It's not working. Let's pivot.
Yeah.
It's like you had mental capacity for that because you weren't pressured.
Yeah. I think I really wanted to pave my own path for folk.
Yeah.
And I knew no matter what, it was going to be successful because I wasn't going to let it not be. So it was being patient in a trust process. Yeah. And knowing that I'm not going anywhere. I'm just getting started. I still have that energy. I'm like every year I'm just getting started. And I guess having that trust in myself, knowing that I wasn't going to give up on folk, really helped push me and kind of keep folk going.
Yeah. And look where you are now.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a beautiful studio.
Thank you.
Let's dive into creative restraint in design.
Yeah.
So you're known for doing a lot of work with layers, colour, bold hues, textures, particularly in your residential work. But in projects like the Gamma Loft, one of your recents, and Folded Laundromat, there is a sense of restraint in these two projects specifically. So how do you balance that? And how do you know when to stop?
Yeah, I think knowing when to stop really comes down to function as well. So when it comes to Folded, a commercial space, we knew that every material in there needed to be highly considered for the use of the space. Doing a laundromat is kind of like designing one big bathroom. And even there's another layer to it. People and all different people are using it 24 hours. And so I think
Brief is completely different to residential as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's looking at the function of the space and making sure that a function and aesthetic have been married beautifully, because we haven't done our job if, it's beautiful but doesn't work for the client.
They complement each other.
Yeah, the patrons of the laundromat. So I think knowing when to stop really does come down to function. For that space, we couldn't style the space. We couldn't have artworks or lamps or bowls because it's open 24 hours. So things could potentially get stolen or, misused. So it meant that the materials were the feature of the space and making sure that we layered that really beautifully and then stopped. And, again, that comes down to function, the usability of the space. And the Gambit Loft is similar. I mean, it is a small space. So overly styling that space or bringing too much colour would have made the space feel completely different. We knew exactly the intention of the space and how we wanted it to feel. And I think knowing when to stop with residential is really looking at the brief and the client and who they are. It's not really about me, and looking at what they want from the space and how they want to feel in the space will then tell me what the limitations of the projects are.
And then with your, if we're going to the material selection side of things, how much conversation and how much collaboration are you having with these clients on, okay, this is the palette. We're going to do a few different textures and hues in this one palette.
Yeah.
Do you find that for, say, the laundromat, which is quite semi-tonal in colour, was there any sort of, let's make it a bit more bright, or let's make it, or was it quite understood by the client?
It was quite understood. I mean, Folded is a funny one because we came up with two different schemes. One that was drenched in blue, which was the end result.
Okay.
The other one was kind of a clay and really deep and moody. We had two different schemes. And I often do that. I think I still do all the concept development for a lot of the projects. And so once I start to go, there actually is two different feelings that we could create here. And I do that with residential too. I always warn the client. I'm like, look, I might go in two different directions here. And they usually allow me to do that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing with Folded was that we came up with this blue drenched scheme. And the client came back and was like, we're just developing the brand and all the branding colours and things. How did you know that we were leaning towards the exact shade of blue that you've put forward? And again, I think it comes down to really evaluating what they wanted from the space, and blue being a colour that kind of promotes the feeling of cleanliness and freshness and energy and movement. And they must have seen that too. So again, it's that strong alignment that we obviously had at the start.
Absolutely. So Vogue Studio has quite a recognizable brand now, with, like we were saying, color, texture. It's also quite expressive, in my opinion. How would you describe, your philosophy alongside Chris, the co-founder, behind the interiors and behind the brand?
I think for us, people and our clients are at the core of what we do, which is why our interiors are quite expressive, because they express our clients. And I think when people ask us about what our design style looks like, for me, it's really hard to answer because it varies. And that is, I think, the beauty of Folk, is that you look at all our projects and there are subtle continuities in colour and texture, but they all feel really different. And that's the biggest compliment that we could have at Vogue, because all our clients are wildly different. So the interiors should also reflect that. So I think for us, our philosophy is always people at the core of what we do. Like, the word folk means people in general. The you is underlined in studio. It's all about you. And that has always been the driving force of Folk and still is today.
I love that. And so as the brand evolves, how important has it been for you, to maintain that creative control as well? As you say, clients can dictate a lot, briefs can dictate a lot, budgets can dictate a lot. How do you find that you're able to really approach that with that creative control and still feel like, the owner and the founder without losing sense of that?
I think when you start a company, the narrative or the commentary around that from people in your kind of orbit is, oh, when can you step away? You've done so much, you've sacrificed a lot. Is there a moment that you can kind of step away from the brand? And my response to that often is, I like that in theory. And it works for some companies, of course, but the nature
Some people
of...
have that agenda.
Yes.
Like, it's a premeditated agenda of, I will
Exactly.
step away at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, each to their own, and it does work for some companies that you can do that. You can employ certain people to do that. For me, I love what I do, so I really couldn't step away. But also, I am at the core, I guess, of the kind of style and the philosophy of Folk. Like, Folk is an extension of me, so there's no way I could really step away from that. I also think that more and more people want to know the person behind the brand. And we see that quite often with Folk when people inquire with us is Mariah going to be working on the concept or on the project?
On the project. It's important to them.
It's important to them, which for a while I was like, oh, we've got really talented designers. Like, do you need me? But again, I'm part of that conceptual development of each project. I think also I'm kind of that conduit between trades and client, and just creating that seamless process is something that I'm good at. And probably my biggest role in Folk is the liaising with everybody involved in the project, as well as coming up with that creative concept.
Yeah, because there's a lot of communication. And when you have been doing it for the time that, you and I have both been doing it, there's a lot of moving parts to any job. And it's not just that you've got one job at any time. You might have 3 to 4 jobs at any one time. And if you're not across that, delegating that to someone who can be across that in the way that you do things can be super tricky as well, let alone a client's expectation of you showing up every day.
Exactly. And I think it creates authenticity with the brand when the voice is always me, or I'm at least part of each project in some way.
Yeah.
Then you really are getting that full Folk experience.
Off the back of this exact conversation around creative control and maintaining that, do you feel pressure to evolve the aesthetic, or does it naturally shift with each project? I feel like clients obviously dictate some stuff, but do you sort of go out for inspiration?
I don't feel a pressure to evolve the aesthetic. I think the aesthetic of Folk, again, is naturally develops from the people that engage us. And it hasn't really changed for 8 years in terms of the feeling. If you look back at all our projects, there's a very subtle feeling that I think that they all promote, and I don't want that to go away. I think also folk has always been very there's elements of trends in all projects, but we don't want to be trend driven. I think at the moment we're seeing a lot of projects that look very similar in terms of that kind of Art Deco elegance, and they're beautiful projects. But again, it's like I don't want the projects to age, and I want them to be timeless, and they can't age or not be timeless if they're an extension of the client. Like that's the success of a project, is if it feels like an extension of the client. So to me, it's not about the trends or keeping up with the trends or evolving the look and feel of folk. I think it's perfect the way it is.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. This episode of Behind the Design is brought to you by my interior design studio, Unfolded. At Unfolded, we design thoughtful, functional spaces and collaborate closely with the builders, suppliers, and makers who help us bring those spaces to life. You can explore our work at unfolded.com.au. You and I have previously spoken about how projects can feel, collaborative and creatively aligned. And so when it comes to, having those conversations with clients and behind the scenes having them with Chris, the co-founder, how important is it for you to have that shared vision and really collaborate with those clients and sort of, again, where's that limit for you with those projects? Yeah.
I think we never say yes to a project unless we've spoken to the client and really understand their why behind the project. And there's a lot of different things that come into play, like our availability, their timeline, budget, location, what they want from the project, if we're going to be the perfect match for them as well. I think, again, we're just kind of analysing all of those kind of pillars to make sure that it will be a seamless process, which is probably why most of our projects are seamless, because there's that strong alignment from the start. A lot of our clients really value folk, and I think for us, no matter if the project has a $20,000 budget or a $500,000 budget, it's still the client's savings, and they're still instilling so much trust in us to make sure that we deliver the perfect project. And so for us, it's about making sure that yes, the client aligns with folk, but also that we don't kind of have a hierarchy with our projects, and so that experience stays quite seamless.
And if you don't mind me asking, do you have a minimum spend for your projects?
No,
you don't.
We don't. And again, that really comes down to what excites me. Some projects will be engaged and I'm like, this is so fun. Their budget's really small, but we need to do it.
Concept's cool.
The concept is cool. And so, no, I think that would limit us. There's such a range of projects. I mean, in saying that, obviously some smaller projects we just can't do because we can't deliver what they're after. And I tell people that.
Transparent about it.
Yeah. And I always give them steps on how they might be able to achieve the look they're after in that kind of initial call, because I do want people to achieve that for themselves. It just might not be with us.
Whether you work with them or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a good attitude to have, because I think I've spoken to designers in the past and who've referred me and vice versa.
Yeah.
Whether it's budget or scale of jobs, but also personality and capacity, availability. That's what I love about our industry, is that we're all connected behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
And we want the best for the client, whether it's with me, with you, with another studio. And it's sort of just being honest with yourself, isn't it? It's saying, is this the right fit for me? Yeah. As much as maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
But is it the right fit for maybe where I want to go as well? What are my goals here?
Will I enjoy this process? Will they enjoy the process? And I also think about my team as well. Will they enjoy the process with this particular client? And one compliment we've always gotten from any team member that's joined us is, wow, all the clients are so lovely. And I think that's really what we look for, is a whole kind of cohort of people that really love what we do at Folk, understand what a designer does to some degree, values the craft and trusts us. And not all of those things are going to be there at the start, but if I can see promise of that, then it's going to be a great project.
And can I ask then, internally, what does that I can see promise of that feel and look like to you?
I think it's the way that we initially communicate. And when I talk to the client initially, it's are they excited for the project? I know if I'm going to be excited about a project too. There's a bit of a vetting process. Before I speak to anyone, we need to see what their design intent is. We need to have a bit of a scope. And so I read through all of those things prior to then going to the next step with a client. So it's not that I'm kind of getting on the phone with every inquiry. We said no to more projects last year than we said yes to. So I think that's probably a good indication as to the vetting process to make sure that we're going to enjoy the project. So again, everyone looks differently in terms of the way that they communicate the project, their excitement about the project, but I can always just tell if the project will align. And I think it really comes down to how much investment they already have with folk, and whether that's if they follow folk or they've been referred to folk or they've at least seen one project of what we do or have just an inkling about what we do at folk. All of those things really help that initial process.
I had a client call recently where they had reviewed, the website, our projects. They were only doing a bathroom. So this is the perfect example of what we're saying here. And typically, we've got other projects going on and larger scale. And I thought, I just love that intention that they've been referred. They've gone on our website. They've gone on our Instagram. She mentioned the podcast.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's nice. It's only step one.
Yeah.
But it's a nice feeling to know that they've already sort of done their due diligence.
Yeah. They've engaged in the brand to some capacity.
Yeah, that's it. Just to see. And then they were referencing a project where there was a bathroom completed.
Yeah.
And I thought that's great because we can already align on something I've completed with confidence and that you like the aesthetic of. Now it's just, implementing it really and executing it. But that's exactly the same. It's a smaller job, but maybe it's quite aligned.
Yeah, exactly. So
it.
Big or small.
That's it. And so, behind the design is exactly what you were saying earlier around people are really wanting to get to know who's behind the brand.
Yeah.
So I also like to discuss on the podcast the reality behind the photos because obviously highlight reel.
Oh, yeah.
Like Studio Folk website, you presenting, everything you're doing. How are you finding the industry as a whole, behind the finished photos online, the magazines? And for me, it's what goes into what produces those images and the challenges and the processes.
Yeah.
And then also what actually happens on shoot days. So talk me through how you feel about all of that with the industry at the moment.
There's a lot that goes into photo shoots. I always say it's organized chaos, but kind of make it chic.
Chic, organized chaos. I love that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of chaos that goes behind the scenes. Yeah. There's a lot of planning. I mean, I like a lot of time behind the scenes in terms of kind of styling shoots. I kind of create little worlds and I honestly dream about them. And it's how can I make this particular home feel a certain way with the layering and the styling and the art direction of the shoot. We typically work with Jackie Turk, who's such an amazing collaborator.
So talented, yeah.
We've probably done over 20 shoots with Jackie and people have often commented like we're speaking to each other without saying any words.
No words.
Like she just gets the way I like to shoot. But in terms of kind of organising all of the loan items or styling and layering and things, I really look at that project and what audience will love that project. So if it is, let's say, the Gambit Loft, that's an apartment. So straight away, the demographic that's really interested in that project is probably somebody that owns an apartment or is looking to move into an apartment. It's not someone with a huge house. They might like it, but they won't relate to it.
Yeah, smaller space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the story that I want to create there is, well, it's that kind of moodiness. It's that kind of New York loft. And again, it's just creating that story and what that looks like. And the storytelling is a big part of a photo shoot. So it's not just the physical part of a photo shoot, picking everything up. My team is running around Sydney with a truck. My husband is an artist, so typically I get him to create an artwork for each shoot in terms of colours as well.
Because he works with Fenton and Fenton, or is he featured in Fenton and Fenton?
Yeah, and Jardin. So he's
Jardin,
doing a lot of things, so we always try and align them so it works in terms of his deliverables as well. So there's a lot that goes into them. But yeah, the storytelling is a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then tell me a little bit about, any challenges you face in the studio with Chris. How do you manage that type of thing? Client challenges, on-site challenges, staff challenges.
Yeah. Well, Chris works remotely, so it is just me and our kind of team members. I mean, we've got such an amazing team that really supports me every day. Again, we don't have too many issues with kind of clients and projects. It's more so just the pressure that we have with, or I guess the mental load of all of the people that are involved in a project. Sometimes it's strata, sometimes it's developers, trades, multiple trades. We've got WhatsApp groups for every single project, client, and then the trades. And so we're answering to a lot of people every day, and the pressure of that can sometimes be quite stressful. I guess the way that we manage it is really building those relationships with all the people involved outside of just the project. Like, I don't like to just work on a project with a builder and just talk, when I'm answering questions here and there. I always get on the phone to them at the start. I like to meet them. We sit down, understand that I'm just another human on this project, and just kind of create that rapport. So I guess it really does kind of build that strong foundation for a project. But again, it's really just the pressure of being pulled in so many different directions every day. And, at times we're working on 10, 12 plus projects at Folk. And so when people are asking me questions all day, I'm like, okay, bathrooms 3, this project, and then, okay, laundry and mudroom for that project. And people are asking me questions all day. So I find that actually really hard to try.
Sorry, not walnut. Definitely not walnut.
Yeah. So that's my hard every day is just being on the ball and understanding all the intricacies of every project and being able to support my team when they need me, but then also do the things that I need to do, which are very separate to those. Sometimes my laptop is just a prop. I'm just answering questions all day, which is great.
That meme that just types, looking around.
I'm like, anyone else? Yeah.
And so in all of that then, do you have any sort of routines? I've got my morning meditation that I do. I wake up and if I'm in a mood for whatever reason, not even a bad mood, just a mood, I want to feel more empowered today, or today I really need support.
Yeah.
And so I'll type that in and it kind of bounces out a really customized meditation for my mood that day.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a must-have. But what do you have to keep you sane in all of the pressure?
I think every year I say I want more balance. And I think what brings me a little bit more peace is knowing that not every day is going to be the perfect balance between, relationship, work, being a great boss, having time to myself. All of those things look different every day. But having moments of balance for me is important. So whether, let's say Monday is chaotic, well, Tuesday, hopefully there's a little bit more balance there. And so looking for that. I do try and have a moment to myself in the morning. I love to have a morning walk. I love to do Pilates on the mornings that I can. And for me, that feels like I've had my pause, and then whatever the day brings, I could handle, and I don't feel like I've kind of put myself last.
Yeah, it's like a grounding.
Exactly. And I also think living on the Northern Beaches, it kind of does separate me from, our offices in Marrickville. Our clients are all around that area. I kind of have this separation, and people are often quite surprised that I live on the Northern Beaches, but I have quite a slow life outside of work, and that's really what I aim for, and why I kind of separate and live a little bit further away. For a while I was living near Palm Beach and going to Marrickville every day. And
what is that, an hour and a half?
Nearly 2 hours.
Nearly 2 hours one way.
Yeah. But the separation there, again, it was kind of all about that mental clarity. Like, I was having this very intense, kind of chaotic day, and then I could come home and go for a swim at 6 p.m. and just kind of ease into the evening in like a little tree house. And so they were very, very different lifestyles, which I really love.
I resonate with that, because I've always found, I've moved to the Central Coast now, but living in Sydney, I found that, my work was my home and my home was my work, a little bit too much. Yeah. And now living on the coast, I've still got so many clients in Sydney, and they're like, oh, hang on, so you're traveling? And I'm like, oh no, I love it. Yeah. Like, I was so happy to travel, because I find on the way there, I'm sorting through the designs, or, it gives me just that hour and a half to go.
That pause.
Yeah, that pause. It's a great word for it. And it grounds me to then feel really prepared for when I arrive.
Yeah.
And then I get to go home. I live in Terrigal, so go home
You
to
get
Airbnb.
Yeah, peaceful.
It's peaceful.
And it's really important
calm.
for what we do, because we give so much emotional labor as well.
Our capacity can be, limited if we're not having that little moment of, serenity or sanctuary as well at home. Yeah, super important. So if we go into some of your projects, they're quite unconventional in concept. Do you enjoy briefs that allow for more of that experimentation?
Yes, I think every creative does.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks different for every project, but I think people have come to us so that we can develop their project beyond what they can imagine. So some projects might seem very simple, or the palette might seem very simple in terms of the brief that's been given to the client, but it's my job to kind of push the envelope a little bit, whether it's in color or texture, or there's a pattern there, or, yes, okay, you want engineered timber floors, awesome. Can we add an element here and do a skirting tile, or whatever it is? It's pushing the envelope so that they feel like their investment in us has been worthwhile. Otherwise, if we're just developing a project that is just, their Pinterest board, it's not very exciting for either party.
No.
So I do tell my clients
It's not explorative.
Yeah, exactly. Is that you've invested in us for a reason. So, let me just push the envelope here. And of course you can push back, but that's that beauty of collaboration. And so often, the clients do trust us with that. It's creating that balance in the project that is their vision, but also going beyond that vision.
Absolutely.
And I think we're really good at that at Folk. I think that that's kind of why a lot of our projects have been successful, is kind of reading between the lines when you meet a client as well, and when they give you a brief. It's, a functional family home is the brief. Okay, well, let's make it really functional for you now and for your family in the future. But we also want this to feel like an extension of your personality. So getting to know who they are and elements of them. Yeah. And we want their home to feel different to their friends' homes, and for them to be really house proud. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what we want. So when they have people over, they can't wait to show them their home.
Yeah, it's like a showcase of their personality plus everything you've helped them achieve.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's sort of taking that piece of somewhat authority, with clients. They've come to you, they're paying us to really take everything that they've got, that they like, that they don't like, and create something with that. And as you say, not just using the pretty Pinterest images, it's kind of unpacking that and saying, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
Have you thought about this other color? Because I had even recently a beautiful project on the Central Coast, and, husband and wife, and sometimes the direction is quite different between the two.
Yeah.
And there was pops of all sorts of colors.
Yeah.
None of them were wrong or right. But we thought, you know what, let's pick one. Let's pick one just to thread that through in a tile or a stone or a light fitting. But it's really just having that cohesion in palette. And I think it's really important to kind of own why as well. I think that really helps the client gain confidence in you or us as designers, but also to go, okay, cool, this person is here to help me achieve what I want.
Yeah.
And if they say that, then I want to spend time looking at that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important conversation to have in those early consultations.
Yes. I think the more confident you are in the design direction.
Yeah.
I mean,
they appreciate it too.
Exactly. And I always say this to even my team. Like, if you role reverse and you're the client, what would I want from an interior designer? And I know exactly what I'd want. I'd want them to be telling me, this is the why. This is why I've chosen this. These are kind of the pros and cons behind this. And pushing the envelope a little bit and developing the story that I've given them.
Yeah.
And really, I think that's the beauty of design and collaboration.
And educating them on things that they don't already know.
Yeah.
Because that's also, we go to a lawyer, right? So much we don't know about the law. That's why we're going to a lawyer.
Yeah.
And they're going to help us see a different perspective or change things up or whatever it might be. So, I love that. So coming into 8 years of Folk Studio, looking back, what are the biggest lessons and learnings that you've had in running the design business?
So many.
Where do you start?
I think it's not related specifically to design. I think it's just business in general, is always trusting your gut. It might sound a little bit cliche, but really that's it, is my gut was always telling me which direction I need to go, whether it's with clients or particular opportunities that come my way. Is this actually aligned with me? Is this what I want? So always trusting my gut. I think also moving through an industry confidently has always been something that I've tried to do. And I think that's probably, confidence and trusting my gut is probably the two things that I've learned along the way. And just backing yourself.
And you also seem quite graceful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but I think that comes with confidence and it comes with experience. I find I've always, I've got a bit of a checklist each morning that I read about how I want to show up each day.
Yeah.
And one of them is to find grace in communication, find grace in approach as well, because I think on, as you say, the receiver's end, when you feel that someone is calm and considered, the receiver also is, you can receive it better.
Yeah.
And it's communicated calmly and it's considered so you can hear it better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm hearing with you as well. It's confidence, yes, but there's that grace.
Yeah, and I think when you think about business or a woman in business, often we're kind of told that they need to be quite intense, or we've been told that they need to be, this particular type of person. And I've always kind of gone with the notion that I can be graceful, as you say, kind, empathetic, all of those other things, as well as being a boss.
And still achieve.
Yeah, you don't need to be just one thing to be a successful woman in business. And I've always tried to maintain that kind of level of calm and that kind of considered approach to design and business in general.
Moving into the next chapter of Folk Studio, how do you protect the identity of the studio as it grows?
Oh, I love that question. I think making sure that I'm still part of folk in the capacity that I'd like to be, and making sure that the voice of folk still comes from me. I think that will always ensure that it's authentic and still feels like folk. I think the brand identity of folk still feels on brand and aligned with me because it was built so authentically from me. It's like an extension of who I am. It's all my favorite colors. All the projects we do are projects that I absolutely love.
The blue kitchen you painted when you were little.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, it feels all very authentic to me and my story and who I am. So I think in terms of folk evolving, it will naturally evolve as I evolve and how I've evolved in the last 8 years. I'm a different person than I was when I was 25. But again, the core of who I am has kind of maintained. So yeah, it'll keep evolving, but it's not going to change its kind of brand identity anytime soon.
Love that. And so what excites you most about the next chapter of Folk Studio?
Oh, so much. Every year I kind of come into the new year and my partner is often like, okay, are we going to like maybe slow down or, what, create more balance? Yeah. Like he's such a good pillar of kind of calmness in my life. And sometimes I'm like, we can limit, how much I kind of put into the company this year because sometimes it is chaotic and I always have some big ideas. But I did come into, exactly. I came into the year this year and I'm like, I've got so many things that I want to do. And I'm kind of that person that as soon as I have an idea, I just need to implement it. It needs to go out in the world. Yeah. And so all of those things that I've kind of manifested or wanted to do are starting to take shape, which is really fun. So whether you'll see it this year or next year, there's a lot happening, a lot of exciting things. Yeah.
And it is nice to feel that, like I'm similar to you, if an idea hits and then it could be, 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, 2 a.m. that night, it hits again. And I'm like, okay, all right.
You're like,
do something
9 a.m.
9 a.m. again.
Yeah.
Or, someone will call and say something that is similar to that. And it's like little reminders that you get about ideas that you need to pursue.
Yeah, it's such an exciting part of what we do, which is why I love my job. Like whether it's designing furniture or doing a collaboration with a brand or projects, they're all so varied and we get the opportunity to kind of bring them to life at Folk. So it's fun.
Beautiful. Mariah, we finished with 3 questions in under 3 minutes.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
What's your weirdest design habit?
Ooh, when I meet somebody, I see their whole house. I've done that since I was a kid. I
Wow.
picture their home.
Oh, so you're not physically there. You
Yeah.
visualize.
Yeah. It's probably my weird design habit. So every single person I interact with, that's the first thing I think of.
Okay, now I know what you'll be thinking when you talk to people. So if I ask, when you first met me, what did you picture?
Well, when you said Terrigal, I'm obviously picturing kind of like beach shack, like very light and bright oak, white, bone colours, like
Wow.
textured.
Couldn't be more right.
Oh, really?
I don't even have curtains.
I love that.
So open.
There you go. I mean, I think people's fashion also kind of is an indicator, right? If someone's wearing bright, bold colours, it's probably a reflection of their home. So it's not that I'm really thinking the intricate details of their home, but just like a broad overview.
Yeah, love that. All right, Pinterest or Instagram for inspiration right now?
Oh, Pinterest. I try not to look at Instagram. It's too trend driven.
Aha, love that. All right, lastly, what is your biggest design ick?
Oh, gosh, there's a lot. I would say when someone's rug is too small for their living room.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
expensive.
I can't not say it. It's probably the first thing I notice.
Can't unsee it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's so good. Well, I've loved having you on. Thank you
you.
for being a part of Behind the Design.
Such a pleasure. Thanks.
My key takeaways from this conversation are that strong design brands are built with intention, that creative alignment creates better outcomes, and that the images we see are only a small part of the real design story. For those listening, you can explore more of Mariah's work online and on Instagram. I'm Camilla Ingall, and this has been Behind the Design.